So President Biden is fighting for more stimulus. Yes, this is true. And some are saying that it's all because there's a train wreck that is coming. Now, I want to address what's actually happening. Because think about it, stimulus. Stimulus is what has propped up the majority of the U.S. economy for much of the past 3 years. And guess what? President Biden is fighting for even more stimulus because he sees some of his priorities are falling by the wayside. And there's even more economic indicators showing signs of a recession. This is very problematic. And President Biden has to do whatever he can to try to stimulate the economy without causing additional inflation. Now, it may not be as easy as just giving the American people some extra money like, has happened over the past. Or in this case, President Biden, he has given the average person, and these are for millions and millions of people, about $15,200 over the past 38 months. And this is actually going to continue for another 2 months. Now, I will explain what's going on here. I'll explain what President Biden wants to do. I will explain what is happening with Congress and the Supreme Court. But right now, those are the two people that are standing in President Biden's way. But first, all I ask is if you can do me a favor, go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. Now, let's get back to what some are calling an absolute train wreck. Here's what I can tell you. Experts are saying that the restart of the student loan payments, this is going to cause a train wreck from multiple different angles and for many different reasons. Let's not forget the fact that studies are now showing that 1 out of every 5 student loan borrowers are at risk of being unable to afford their payments. And it's 1 out of every 5 just being able to afford the student loan payment. Keep this in mind. The 4 out of 5 that can make the payment, you know what experts are calling or really saying for them? That 2 out of those 5, actually 2 out of 4 of those people, they are going to be unable to afford the rest of their debts. So yes, 1 out of 5 is going to struggle to make their student loan payment. 2 out of the total of 5 are going to struggle to make it for all of their debts. They will not be able to pay off every single thing. That is a problem. This study doesn't take into account the other debts that borrowers are going to have and will be unable to afford at that time. So seriously, 60% of student loan borrowers are going to struggle financially within the next couple of months. But let's get back to why experts are calling this a train wreck. Because again, it's not about those payments. It's not about that. That's what's so troubling. And this is why President Biden and the Biden administration are calling for additional stimulus. And when I say additional stimulus, we are talking about extending the student loan payment pause, forgiving student loan debt, canceling or making sure that interest is tax deductible. Okay? These are the things that lawmakers are discussing at this time, and they want to make sure that a bill is in place and passed before the deadline. And the deadline is August 29th. Because on August 29th, 2023, 40 plus million borrowers are going to be required to start making payments towards their student loan debt. However, this is where some are calling this a logistical nightmare because of what comes along with this payment that will then be restarted. And this is why President Biden is advocating for additional stimulus. Now, the uncertainty, and this is why many are saying that this is going to be a train wreck, is because of the uncertainty. And it's because of the change in debt servicing companies. Millions of borrowers have went from a certain servicing company to a different one. The problem is some have no clue. There's also, according to reports, staffing shortages that experts see as a unprecedented thing in consumer finance. And all of this is going to result in logistical headaches, extreme wait times on the phone, and the potential for massive errors in billing. Now, I want to read you this. This is an email that I got the other day. Actually, not an email, a comment that I got the other day. It says, Adam, I could really use your help if you can. I've not made a payment on my school loan since April 2020, and I know the loan payments will start up again very soon. Can you tell me when I will need to start making payments once again? The other problem I'm having is that my original loan has been transferred to another company, and when I called to see which company my loan is being serviced through, nobody could tell me. How do I find this out, or do I just sit here and wait? And what happens if I don't get a letter or anything before the payments are supposed to start? I am worried because I have moved 2 times in the past year and a half. Thanks in advance if you are able to help me. I really appreciate it. Let's go back and let's answer some of those things. First off, when will the payments for student loans restart? It can start as soon as April 29th, 2023. The other problem that I'm having is my original loan has been transferred. Millions of people have seen this exact same thing happen, where their original loan has been transferred to a different company. Now, you should have, or you will, get a letter from said company, and they will let you know how to proceed. How do you make the payments? Here's the problem. And I know this is a problem because I have a friend that he does have a student loan. He still has some student loan debt. He moved multiple times, but he moved out of his parents' house. So he's moved multiple times, and he's continuously changed his address. So he used to live here in Washington State. Then he moved over, I believe, into Connecticut or somewhere over there. Then he moved to California, and then he's also moved lately. He's moved down to Texas, and he's done put in the notification with the post office, and I moved. Here's my new address, all that stuff. Guess what? The new company, the new servicing company, who bought his loan or whatever, right? They sent the letter not to his address in Texas where he lives now, not to his address in California where he lived previously, not to his address in Connecticut or wherever he lived right over there. They sent it to his parents' address in Washington State. Think about that for a second. He's consistently changed his address, yet that's where it went. So you need to figure out who the new servicing provider is. You need to contact them, let them know your new address, let them know if you have an email address change or anything like that. Give them a new phone number, all that stuff so that you can go and take care of this. Because what happens if you don't get a letter and you miss payments? You would be in default. Okay? You would be in default. That's what's going to happen. And think about this for a second. You default on a student loan payment. Guess what? It's going to hurt your credit. As your credit starts to go down, your interest on credit cards will actually go up. Think about that. Think about when somebody runs your credit and now you're seeing, oh, yeah, I haven't been making a payment for my student loan debt. That's a problem. I might not be able to afford a car payment now. I might not even qualify. Can't get a home loan. This is going to hurt. This is going to be the start of that train wreck. But think about this for a second. How many people are not even making the kind of money that they once were, right? You were able to afford this student loan debt at one point, but what's happening now? Maybe you can't afford it. This is why many are pushing to make sure that student loans are more affordable, that we go off of the amount of money that you actually make now, right? And it's, again, a lot of people bring this up, but is this something that could really happen? Are they going to change the way student loan debt is actually paid back? Well, we don't know. What about all those people that have since moved, right? And their loan provider has changed, but yet they're trying to make payments to the existing place, the existing provider. But now it's the wrong provider, and the payment isn't going through. What about all the people that have moved and they can't get a hold of their loan provider? They don't know who it is. Again, this is why experts are calling this a train wreck, because this is potentially what's going to happen. Now, originally the education department came back. They pushed this payment pause back, many months initially, because they said, and they made multiple statements saying that they were going to fix these issues, but it took a little bit of time. They've had added time. They've had months of additional time, and yet they can't get anything to work, right? They're still seeing the same problem. This is why President Biden and the White House is pushing for additional stimulus, because we need it at this time. They have argued that as soon as the payment pause expires, millions of borrowers are going to instantly default on their debts. So keep this in mind, because as we get closer to that August 29th date, many people are expecting we're going to see more proposals for additional stimulus, but a lot more proposals for student loan debt. But I just wanted to fill you in on what's going on, because again, as President Biden and the White House are fighting for additional stimulus to student loan borrowers, experts say that a train wreck is coming.